So, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I worked on the very foreground of this picture. So you'll recognize the picture. I've been working on it on and off over the last few YouTube videos, but I'm going to be just completing the very foreground there, the grasses. It's an interesting picture in that it's larger than pictures that I would normally do. So in some ways, it's been a little bit more of a challenge, but very, very enjoyable. So the grasses at the foreground, pretty easy to do if you've got the right tools, the right techniques, and I'll be showing you that in this video. So if you struggled painting your own grasses, your own foreground foliage, then this is the video for you. Right, let's get into it. So we have the block-in completely dry, and it's a very basic block-in, let's be honest. I mean, that's how we want it to look. That's how it currently looks at the moment. Slightly undersaturated in that it's not fully colourful, and just generally flat. No effort really, apart from perhaps trying to get the colour similar. Not a great deal of effort went into the actual painting, the block-in of the grass. So what we're going to be doing is adding, as I always do with these, the darker shades. Then we'll go ahead and add the highlights. And we're going to get this to look obviously just like a big flat piece of green to something that is going to be much more photorealistic. This is us concentrating on photorealism. Okay, so first things first, let's add those darker colours. So using the fan brush, and there's hardly any paint on this fan brush at all, but I'm going to go over this whole area basically like this, just adding these darker tones. So I'm doing just little downward strokes. And because of the nature of this brush, it's relatively stiff. When you put the brush against the surface, can you see you get little lines, little vertical lines. That's what we're trying to do to get this to start to look like grass, but obviously there's lots left to do. Okay, so that is the darker area in place, or the darker areas in place now. And as you can see, that's considerably darker than the photograph. But what we need to now do is bring that light up. So if you look at the photograph, you can see in there all the tiny little darker areas. Well, that's what we've done. We're going to start at the top here, and then we're going to work our way down, increasing the lights, adding more of a mid-tone, then we can go in with the real highlights and then the details at the end. So we're at that stage now where we're going to really start putting on the highlights. Now what I like to do is I like to divide the highlights into two sort of categories, if you like. So we've added, the middle tone is the block-in. We've then added some of the darks. Now we're adding the highlights. Now those highlights will be more of a highlight 1 and a highlight 2, with highlight 2 being the much brighter. And often in a case like this with grass, it's not far off being perfectly white, but we're going to do the other level. We're doing level 1 first of all before we move over to level 2. There are two main ways that I would do this in order to get it looking realistic. The first one is to use the super fine. This is the series 1. So there we are, there you can see it on the video there. This is the size 5.0. We do have a 10.0 as well in store, which is smaller than this. Same length of hair, but less hairs. So it's a skinnier brush, and that's really going to help when it comes to doing the grasses. So that's one way of doing it, and we're going to spend a little bit of time doing that first of all. So while I'm doing this, I'm adjusting the length of the brush strokes and the direction that they're falling. So I'm keeping close eye on the reference photograph and just making small adjustments to make this look realistic. And as you can see, I'm steadying my hand the whole time by resting my finger against the painting surface. Okay, so we talked about going with the next stage of lightness. And actually, I think we're going to probably, now I've looked at it, I think we're going to do 3 stages. So this is the next stage of brightness that I'm doing. I've reverted back to the rigger brush, but now we're just that slight tone lighter, adjusting the direction so that we make it as realistic as possible. It might not look that much lighter, but it is, and it will make a difference. I think the next stage we might move into a slightly different colour, because often with these areas of meadow or grasses around the riverbanks, you do still get the dead grasses that are a different colour. They're slightly warmer, and we will also add a selection of darks and perhaps even some whites in there. But it's the same technique that we're using now. Same technique. Adjusting the angles, trying to keep the thickness the same. That's the one thing we're trying to keep constant, but perhaps as we move nearer to the viewer here, we can add a few longer brush strokes as well. They don't need to all be long. I think that's one of the faults that I tend to see often in students' work, is that the brush lengths all tend to be the same. Often working in the same direction as well, but we just need a real variety, different lengths, but just with some longer. So what we have now is the base. It's not even the base, it's gone beyond the base. But we've got a level of detail in there now that is starting to look real. It's perhaps a little bit too flat in colour. So the next stage, well, there are a few extra stages that we could do if we're really looking for realism. The first is we'll add the really lighter highlights that we talked about, so the near whites, certainly bright yellows, and then there's almost that dead grassing, and then there might be a little bit more darker tones to put in before we then put like little bits of flowers and things like that. So it's the lighter bits that we're going to do next, going up to that next level, and that's what we're going to do right now. So same technique, that's not going to change. We're just increasing the amount of lighter colours in our paint. So mainly whites. So let's just have a look at this, see if this is light enough. That doesn't quite stand out enough for me. Okay, so we've added those lighter bits. Now we just need to kind of almost dirty the area up. We need to make it look less uniform. There's so many different colours, even in just an area of grass like this, that we need to put in order to make it look realistic. We talked about the dead grasses. I'm going to now add some darker areas just within that, but also to the outside edge where the grass grows over that river. Okay, so let's now add some of those dead grasses. This is really going to be the effect that makes this look realistic. And I'm going to do that just with some white, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre, perhaps a touch of yellow medium. So that's the area finished, and in fact the whole painting is now finished. And I've got to say, it was a little bit more of a challenge for me because it's a bigger painting, certainly bigger than I've been used to doing recently, but thoroughly enjoyable. So there are three things I want to mention before you go. The first thing is I have an online painting school. I'm sure most of you already know that, but there's now over 110 full lessons on there where we go into literally every aspect of painting, from colour mixing to sketching. There's some of the lessons on there are 30 hours long, and then there are some shorter ones for beginners as well. There's oil lessons, there's acrylic lessons, there's even lessons on completely different subject matters like still lifes, portraits, animals, obviously landscapes. Everything is on there, and even different styles as well, so please check that out. The link is in the description below. It's michaeljamessmith.tv. Be careful, because there's another website that's pretending to be me. All the products that I've used in this, the paints and the brushes, are available to buy on my shop website. Once again, links down in the description. And of course my Patreon, which is a relatively new thing that I've been doing, where it's more informal teaching. I'll do live demos. You can ask me questions and I'll demo it for you just to show you how to do it. So if there's something that you're struggling with in your own work, join Patreon, put it in one of the chats, and I'll look at that and give you, do a demo for you, even for you personally, if it's something that I think will be good to film. But anyway, once again, links in the description below. You can join, I think, for as little as £2. Also on there, I'm giving away a recent painting, so it's just exclusively for my Patreon members. So if you want to be in for a chance to win original paintings, £2 a month is all it takes. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm going to catch my breath, make myself a cup of tea, and I shall see you all in the next video.